Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of My Cheating Wife, the podcast where we dive deep into the drama, heartbreak, and sometimes even the unexpected twists and turns of infidelity. Today's story is one for the books. It's a tale of betrayal, revelation, and the jaw-dropping moment when everything comes to light in the most unexpected way. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's get into it. The night of the party was one of those rare occasions when everything seemed perfect. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the harmonious hum of conversations blending into a single, lively symphony. As I stood in front of the mirror, fixing the last strand of hair, I felt a mixture of excitement and anticipation. "Bianca, are you ready?" my husband, Jason, called from downstairs. His voice carried a hint of impatience. "Just a minute," I replied, applying a final touch of lipstick. Tonight, I wanted everything to be perfect. Our marriage had hit a rough patch recently, and this party felt like an opportunity to rekindle the spark we once had. When I finally made my way downstairs, Jason was waiting for me by the door. He looked dashing in his tailored suit, his eyes scanning me appreciatively. "You look stunning," he said, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Thank you," I replied, feeling a flush of warmth. "You clean up pretty well yourself." We arrived at the party, which was being held at the lavish home of our friends, the Parkers. The mansion was lit up like a Christmas tree, its grandiose architecture standing out against the night sky. As we walked through the grand entrance, we were greeted by the hosts, Amanda and Robert, who welcomed us with open arms. "Bianca, Jason. So glad you could make it," Amanda exclaimed, hugging us both. "The party is in full swing. Grab a drink and mingle." We moved through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries and making small talk with acquaintances. The night was progressing smoothly, and I could feel the tension between Jason and me slowly dissipating. We danced, laughed, and for a while, it felt like old times. As the night wore on, I found myself seated at a table with a few friends, enjoying a glass of wine. Jason had gone to get us another round of drinks. I was deep in conversation when a man approached our table. He was tall, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through me. There was something unsettlingly familiar about him. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice smooth and confident. "Sure," I replied, curious. "I'm Bianca, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Bianca." "I'm David," he said, taking a seat across from me. We exchanged pleasantries, and I learned that David was a business associate of Robert's. As we talked, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to him, something he wasn't saying. Just then, Jason returned with our drinks. He froze when he saw David sitting at our table, his face paling. "Jason, this is David," I said, oblivious to the tension. "He's a friend of Robert's." "Nice to meet you, Jason," David said, extending a hand. Jason shook it reluctantly, his eyes darting nervously between us. "Bianca, can I talk to you for a moment?" Jason asked, his voice tight. "Sure," I said, puzzled. We stepped away from the table, and Jason looked at me with a mix of anger and fear. "What's wrong?" I asked, concerned. "Do you know who that is?" he whispered urgently. "David?" "No, why?" He's Amanda's affair partner," Jason said, his voice barely audible. My jaw dropped. "What?" "Yeah. I saw them together a few weeks ago. I didn't know he'd be here tonight." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The man who had approached our table was the person my husband had seen with Amanda. And now he was here, sitting with us, acting as if nothing had happened. We returned to the table, and I couldn't help but look at David with a new perspective. He seemed calm, almost too calm. Did he know that we knew? As the night continued, I found it increasingly difficult to focus on anything other than the presence of David. I could see Jason was equally unsettled, his eyes constantly flicking towards our unwanted guest. Eventually, the tension became too much to bear. I excused myself and headed towards the bathroom, needing a moment to collect my thoughts. As I splashed cold water on my face, the door opened, and David walked in. "This is the ladies' room," I said, my voice shaking. I know, he replied, closing the door behind him. We need to talk. About what? I asked, trying to keep my composure. You know who I am, don't you? He said, stepping closer. Yes, I admitted. I know you're having an affair with Amanda. David sighed, running a hand through his hair. It's not what you think. Oh, really? Then what is it? I demanded, anger rising within me. It's complicated, he said, looking genuinely troubled. Amanda and we have a history. It's not just an affair. There's more to it. I shook my head, not wanting to hear his excuses. I don't care about your history. What you're doing is wrong. I know, he said quietly. But I can't help how I feel about her. The door opened again, and Amanda walked in, her face a mask of shock and confusion. What's going on here? She asked, looking between David and me. We were just talking, David said quickly. About what? Amanda demanded, her eyes narrowing. About you, I said bluntly. And your affair with him. Amanda's face turned pale. Bianca, Save it, I snapped. I don't want to hear it. I pushed past them and left the bathroom, my mind reeling. The rest of the night passed in a blur. Jason and I left the party early, the tension between us palpable. The days that followed were filled with a heavy silence. Jason and I barely spoke, the weight of the revelation hanging over us like a dark cloud. I couldn't stop thinking about Amanda and David, their betrayal cutting deep. One evening, I decided to confront Amanda. I needed to hear her side of the story, to understand why she had done what she did. I drove to her house, my heart pounding in my chest. When she opened the door, she looked surprised but not entirely shocked. Bianca, what are you doing here? She asked, her voice cautious. I need to talk to you, I said, pushing past her and into the living room. Amanda followed me, closing the door behind her. What do you want to talk about? Your affair, I said bluntly. With David. Amanda sighed, sitting down on the couch. I guess there's no point in denying it. No, there isn't, I said, sitting across from her. Why, Amanda? Why would you do this? She looked down at her hands, her expression troubled. I don't know. David and we have a history. We were together before I met Robert. When we reconnected, all those old feelings came rushing back. That's no excuse, I said, my voice harsh. You betrayed your husband. And you put my marriage at risk too. I know, Amanda said quietly. And I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did, I said, standing up. And now we all have to live with the consequences. As I left her house, I felt a sense of closure. Amanda's betrayal had hurt deeply, but confronting her had given me a sense of empowerment. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could choose how to move forward. Jason and I decided to see a marriage counselor. We both knew that our relationship needed work, and we were willing to put in the effort to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. The sessions were tough, forcing us to confront our issues head-on, but they also brought us closer together. Through therapy, we learned to communicate better, to understand each other's needs and fears. It wasn't an easy process, but it was a necessary one. Slowly, we began to heal, our bond growing stronger with each passing day. As for Amanda and Robert, their marriage didn't survive the fallout. Robert filed for divorce, and Amanda moved away, needing a fresh start. David disappeared from our lives as quickly as he had appeared, leaving behind a trail of broken relationships. In the end, the experience taught me valuable lessons about love, trust, and forgiveness. I learned that relationships are fragile and require constant care and attention. I also learned that, no matter how deep the betrayal, there is always a path to healing if both parties are willing to walk it together. Looking back, I realized that the party was a turning point in my life. It was a night of revelations and heartbreak, but it was also the catalyst for change. Jason and I emerged from the ordeal stronger and more committed to each other than ever before. We still have our ups and downs, but we've learned to face them together, hand in hand. Our love has been tested, but it has also been reaffirmed. And for that, I am grateful. As I sit here, reflecting on the journey we've been on, I can't help but smile. Life is unpredictable, full of twists and turns, but it's also full of possibilities. And as long as we have each other, I know we can face whatever comes our way.